Pressure is on.
The jitters out.
Get the jitters out. I don't have any jitters.
Ever?
I'm perfect. I've never felt an ounce of stress in my entire life about anything.
I'm very jealous.
Should be. I'm also a good liar.
Oh.
What should we talk about while we wait, Jenae?
How warm it's going to be today. It's going to be in the 60s?
It is going to be warm today, finally.
I think it's going to be a good day for the conservatory. We got some misters running already.
Might be kind of hot.
Yeah, we got misters and fans running already.
Are the boilers also on?
Yep.
So it's definitely going to be hot.
It's going to be a warm one.
That's good. We like it warm.
We do.
At least the butterflies do.
The butterflies love it warm.
Our volunteers might be a little sadder. A little more sad. Is sadder a word?
I don't think so.
Kai, can we have a check on that? Is sadder a word? What do you think?
I think it's a word.
He is sadder than that person. He is more sad. Both of them sound wrong. I'm not.
Funner.
Funner
Funner
is
sounds like it should be a word.
funner is not a word. Shannon, you can come. We're just waiting.
We'll just feature you.
Let's say we're not doing this in the easiest place for people to walk back and forth. I think we're ready to.
There we go. We're back.
We're back. Oh, thank God! I've missed you all so much. How many people? 1, 2. Is my mom watching? 2. Is one of them my mom? Has she said anything yet? Hi, Mom. If you're watching,
Is one
hi,
of them
I
my
love
mom?
you.
Marlis?
It's just our moms watching. Big fan of that.
Oh, come on, Mom.
All right, well, we'll get started. Welcome to our 2 friends out there to another Butterfly House and Aquarium live stream, Facebook Live. This is Facebook Live, where we go behind the scenes, show you a little bit of stuff you might not see when you normally come, talk about like some of the secrets we have here. And today I'm here with Jenae again. Thank you for joining me today, Jenae.
Of course.
Jenae, remind me and everyone else, what do you do here?
Yeah, so I am a biologist here, and part of my tasks are caring for the conservatory as a whole. So the butterfly room, which includes the plants and the butterflies as well as the chrysalis that come in. But we also care for all of the animal ambassadors here, as well as our outdoor gardens.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yes.
And since everybody's already done a Facebook Live once, every time someone's redoing one now, I'm asking a new question.
Oh.
And that question is, if you could care for any animal in the entire world, what animal would you want to care for?
You know, I really couldn't decide on this one. So I am very fascinated with bugs in general, but especially intrigued with bees. I really like bees, but I understand it's super hard to care for them. And I really think giant beetles are really cool because we don't see giant beetles around here at all. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting choices. I would have picked something like a polar bear, but insects are fine too.
Yeah.
So, Jenae, tell the fine people what we're going to be talking about today, what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, so we have a variety of animal ambassadors, and I'm going to show you and walk through our morning care routine for what we do for them to keep them going smoothly.
Oh, very interesting. So, just to start, I have a pretty basic question a lot of people might not know the answer to. What is an animal ambassador?
It's a great question. So it's an animal that goes through specific training, mainly handling as well as enrichment. So this animal is used on a rotation schedule to do public encounters. So we do bring it out into the public for us at the Butterfly House and Aquarium. Every day we try to have an 11 a.m. and a 2 p.m. animal encounter, which for half hour we will stand, talk about that animal, have it out, and even sometimes have a touch experience with that animal.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So other than the fact that they're used for programs, what makes them different? Like why do we have some of these particular animals as ambassador animals instead of some other species of animals?
Absolutely. So we're trying to focus on what animals have a conservation message or an ecological impact. So for us, we do have a lot of insects here. That kind of ties in with our butterflies, insects, things like that. And we do have other tropical animals like Nagini, our carpet python, who is about 10-ish years old. She is 5.5 feet. So we talk about how she would live in a tropical environment, but we educate people also on keeping animals. So how hard it is to keep animals. The fact that this snake can live 20 years and it's a lot of work. So.
Oh, okay, interesting. And final question about animal ambassadors in general before we talk a little bit more about our specific ones. What, or can any species be an ambassador animal, or are there ones that are, better, quote unquote, at it?
I would say that not every animal can be an animal ambassador, and that's purely because some animals are really hard to house safely in some sort of facility. It's just not good for them, and in terms of trying to make sure they have everything they need and are able to act as normally as they would in the wild. In addition, some animals have a very poor response to direct human contact, direct handling by a human. And when it stresses them out, then we deem it not safe for that animal.
Okay, so some, or maybe a lot even, but definitely not all.
Correct.
Got it. So tell us a little bit about what you have to do to care for our animals.
Yeah, so we have a giant checklist, and part of what we do is we start with this cart every morning. And so this cart allows us to bring a lot of things directly to our animals, since all of our animals are on the floor. So we do have a big water jug. All of our animals get fresh water and food daily, with the exception of course, some of our snakes get food on a monthly or weekly schedule. Otherwise, every animal also has a misting schedule. So we do use your typical garden mister and just reverse osmosis water in here to make sure we're keeping those enclosures at the proper temperature and proper humidity. So I will show you over here, every enclosure has its own guidelines. So we know what temperature we need to set and what humidity we need to set. This for our Goliath bird eater tarantula, she does have a specific fogging machine, and that's because she is a tropical animal and it does need a lot of humidity.
That's it? That's all you have to do to care for the animals?
No, I mean, feeding and watering is the most thing, of course.
Sure.
Misting, but also on like more of a long-term schedule, we do substrate changes. We do stir the cockroach substrate and look for juveniles or eggs to make sure that we are keeping our population on the floor at a good number. We have an extra holding in the tank that in the back tank that we can use to hold extra so that we're keeping them having a good distance to move around each other.
Interesting. So you mentioned interesting words there. You said on the floor versus in the back. And if someone visited us September or October of 2021, they wouldn't have seen any of these enclosures out here.
Correct.
Because they were in the back.
Correct.
But we made the decision to move them on display so people could see them. Why?
Yeah, so this is something that our director of animal husbandry has been working on for quite a while, actually. She believed that these animals, after evaluating them, we thought they would do fine on the floor with people interaction. And of course, it's a huge education piece for the public. It just took a while for us to make sure we had every single enclosure, make sure they're all succinct, make sure we have all of the supplies for the enclosure. We take a lot of pride in making every enclosure specific for that animal's needs. And so once we got all those items, Kai made some signage for us, and we were able to get them out on the floor, which was a huge move for us. It also frees up some space. So we do have limited space here at the Butterfly House. So we have field trips and summer camps coming in. And so that freed up some classroom space for those.
Thankfully.
Yes.
Yes, some much needed classroom space. So, which of our animals is your favorite to work with?
Yeah, so I will show you. Just gonna grab my mister, and I will show you our giant shield mantis, Megura. And so Megura is very interesting because I feel like you don't get to see mantises up close very often. And when Meg came in, she had not completely molted to be full size yet. So we got to help watch her grow, but I also got to help name her. So Meg's genus species name is Rhombodera megaera. And so I thought that sounded like Megura from Hercules. So I really enjoy that. Meg's pretty cool. You can see her doing a little dance. You can see her complex eyes. You can see that she does have 6 legs like an insect, but those front 2 legs are very specialized for hunting and gathering her food. I think she's very fascinating. People do occasionally see mantises around here, but maybe not necessarily this big. Kids really love that she can hang upside down and that you can see the tiny tarsus claws on her feet. There you go. Get your cameo, Meg.
I believe it's a close-up.
Oh. I learned a new thing today. So I would say yes, Megura is my favorite. I love watching her hunt flies. I love feeding her worms. They are very active hunters, and it's cool to see her work her magic. All of her tiny leg parts and mouth parts moving in cadence, I suppose, are pretty awesome.
I have to agree. Meg is definitely one of my favorites as well. My favorite is the giant African millipede. And that's because when they crawl on you, it feels like your arm's falling asleep, which I think is funny. And they're really big, which I think is really cool. But
Yes.
Meg's probably a close second. So, what's the most challenging thing about working with these animals?
The most challenging, I would say, is probably that every single animal has different needs. So we just looked at Meg. Meg doesn't have a specific water dish, so she doesn't drink from a dish. So we do have to make sure to mist Meg every single day. So again, I showed you all of those temperature and humidity needs, but Meg needs a little bit more. So we will give her a gentle spritz, and then she will drink that throughout the day. Another challenge is we have to know a lot about these animals because they are on the floor, because they are animal ambassadors. They do see the public a lot. We need to know what their stress signs would be so that we could remove them from the public if necessary.
That kind of leads me into my next question, which is there anything that you have to do differently or uniquely care-wise because they're animal ambassadors, as opposed to an animal that stays in their enclosure all the time, never comes out, never has to interact with the public?
Right, so we'll walk over here a little bit and get to see some of our other animals. And so I will go right to these cave cockroaches. So since these are animal ambassadors, we do have a training protocol for each of our animals, and specifically the ones that have touch opportunities. So we do make sure to do a handling for most of our animals every day, if possible, but especially our snakes, as well as enrichment programs for each of these animals. Again, we have to be ready to answer a lot of the public's questions. But these animals do get a specific diet as well. You can see here, daily they do get different food, whether it's fruit or vegetables, as well as water. And then we do mist their enclosure as well.
So really the biggest thing that happens differently with the ambassadors is that they actually get handled, they get touched intentionally, essentially to prepare them for coming out and doing animal encounters. And,
Absolutely.
And interacting with the public. Awesome. So behind us, there's what looks like a bunch of nonsense, garbage type stuff,
Yeah.
to me, to a layman. But I know it has something to do with this crazy thing called enrichment.
Yes.
Can you tell me about enrichment as much as you want?
Yeah. So enrichment is something to stimulate the animal in general, whether it's stimulate them physically, through their senses, cognitively, through social cues, smells, things like that, and more. So we do this with our animals to keep them active, to encourage natural behaviors, things like that. And so we have a lot of these items, and it is very important for our animals to get this. And so we try to do it every day with our snakes, and then our insects are a little harder to do enrichment with. But we do enrichment mainly for them with their food and with their physical environment. So I just gave them zucchini. They've never had zucchini before. Otherwise, we do change around their habitat decor as well. So that changing their physical environment, even though we may not see them move as much because they are nocturnal, it does make them take a different path, maybe take a harder route, gain muscle strength by using different things. And so it is very important to stimulate those animals, but also encourage those natural behaviors.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but enrichment isn't as important necessarily for some of our invertebrates, some of our insects or arthropods. It's just not, it's not as noticeable when it's doing good things for them.
Right.
And two, they don't need as much stimulation necessarily as someone like Nagini, who is a fairly complex animal.
Right. I would personally agree. Not to say that we don't do enrichment with our insects. So, like I said, it's on a simpler method, so more environmental changes. But yeah, our snakes are huge with enrichment. So they're very intelligent. They're very relaxed in their enclosure, and when you bring them out, they're super active. So we do have a couple items I can show you here for our snakes and our other animals. So this large pegboard is one that I would like to say Nagini enjoys. She is our carpet python that's 5.5 feet long. So a pegboard does encourage her natural behavior of wrapping, constricting, holding on with her body because she is arboreal, meaning she does live in the trees. So this is something she would naturally do in the wild. We use this at least once a week, probably 2 to 3 times a week with Nagini. And then moving on, we do have different textures that we can put the animals in. So Orion, our western hognose snake, is a terrestrial snake, and he likes to burrow in his substrate a lot. Now this is just a different texture that he can experience and really dive into and burrow into. We do have some balls that we can put in the enclosures. Not only do these provide smells, taste, but it's a different color. It's something new in their environment. Different textures like a pool noodle, again a ball, and then of course smells. So we do have this snake shed. We do use it with maybe Orion, our western hognose snake, even though it's our carpet python shed, because it does hold different smells that will really keep his mind going.
Very interesting. So, is there anything else you want to tell people about our animal ambassadors or the care that goes into them that maybe they don't know or you think they should know?
I think we covered a lot of it. And really importance is to make sure if you are getting an animal at home, make sure you are doing a ton of research on that animal, because not all animals are easy to care for, and a lot of them live a very, very long time. Some of our animals have been donated here to us, and we've noticed things like they weren't housed properly, and they may have been stunted for their growth, or even detrimental health things for those animals.
Makes sense. Well, Jenae, I want to say thank you
Absolutely.
very much for showing us all about our wonderful animal ambassadors. I love our animal ambassadors. I know you do too, and most of the public seems to as well. So
Yes.
thank you so much for caring for them.
Absolutely.
And thank you, dear viewer, for joining us on this wonderful adventure where we went behind the scenes yet again to explore some of the lesser known things about Butterfly House and Aquarium. So again, thank you, and please join us next time when we're going to look at something else. Again, I don't know what. I probably won't know until the day before. So, bye.
All right, if you want to, we can end with a little Orion enrichment.
Yes, please.
All right.
I jumped the gun. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. So here we have Orion, our western hognose snake. This is one of our few native animals here. So they range from the Canadian border all the way down to, or all the way up to the all the way down to the Mexican border. And so you can see Orion is surprisingly not burrowed. When you come here, he usually tends to be burrowed. And so he is very used to being touched, being picked up. Just give him a little grab with our snake hook here and see if he wants to participate today in some enrichment. Mornings aren't usually his jam, so we'll see. How you doing today? So Ryan will use his tongue to taste the particles in the air. He can use that shovel-shaped nose to dig into the packing peanuts if he so chooses. Today he's pretty relaxed, so he might not want to.
But even just sitting on top is still enrichment for him, right? I mean, it's still
Absolutely.
different. It doesn't feel anything like anything in his enclosure.
Yeah, so it's got a different texture, it's got a different smell, a different taste. He's not in his enclosure, so he is being enriched. Let's see if he wants some table time this morning. What do you think, Orion? All right, everyone, there's some Orion enrichment. Thank you for joining us. Stop by at 11 a.m. or 2 p.m. for an animal encounter.
That's true. Until next time, everyone.